Hello everyone. So today I will be talking about the story of Aunt Hester. Frederick Douglass had 3 narratives that he wrote on his life. The first was a narrative of the life of Frederick Douglass, an American slave in 1845. Then it was My Bondage and My Freedom in 1855. And lastly, Life and Times of Frederick Douglass in 1881. The story of Aunt Hester carries on with him as he talks about the narrative of life, My Bondage and My Freedom, Life and Times of Frederick Douglass. Through these narratives, one is able to see the struggle of a Black woman. This is Aunt Hester. Frederick Douglass describes her in the Life and Times. This was a young woman who possessed that which was ever a curse to the slave girl, namely, personal beauty. She was beautiful. No one knows why Captain Anthony may have been infatuated with Esther. We all can make our assumptions. The reality is that Esther was courted by Ned, and she really seemed to enjoy his company if she kept going back to him. But due to the circumstances of that time, she was not allowed to be with him, and it was a curse upon her that caused her to get beat time and time again. This account by Frederick Douglass recounts the time he witnessed it. The essence of the story remains throughout the 3 narratives. There is differences in the things that he mentions, in the things he does, and in his descriptions. After reading Douglass's first accounts as a class, we all seem to be confused about the relationship between Ned and Hester. Was this relationship out of love or just for companionship? One is left with many questions. In 1845, this event was still raw in Frederick Douglass's head. He explains everything in a descriptive manner, and you can feel the raw emotion. Since this is the first account of the event, one can assume that this is the most accurate account. One of the biggest differences noted in this account is when he talks about his location during this event. He states in the narrative in his life account that he went to hide in the closet as he was horrified by the event and feared he would be next. In the other 2 accounts, he states that he was awoken by the shrieks of his aunt. One of the possible reasons for this is that just as you get older, childhood becomes more and more blurry. In his other 2 accounts, he talks about Ned and his aunt Hester's relationship as a story of passion. It's important to know that in his first account, he calls his aunt Aunt Hester. In the second, he calls her Esther, as well as in the third. Why? Why, you may ask yourself? Why does he do this? And the question is, we don't really know, but we can come to the assumption that maybe he got a letter from someone and he realized, oh, this was the correct spelling, or oh, this is how I wanted it to spell. If you look at the name Hester and Esther, they're very similar. So we have to understand that during this time, Frederick Douglass was learning and evolving. So things were bound to change in his account. As I was reading the accounts, I could tell the differences. In the first one, he's very much straight and to the point, while still being descriptive. In the second one, you can see that he starts to add a little bit of flowery language and talk more about the relationship or possible relationship between Ned and Aunt Hester. In the third one, he adds a lot of more descriptive language on Hester's physical appearance. So he talks about her beauty. He emphasizes on that. He makes this seem like a passionate love story. And you may be asking yourself, why? Why? And as I've mentioned, we don't really know why. We wish we could ask him why. But we can come to the assumption that it could have been due to the time gaps between these stories. Towards the end of the story, he describes a brutal beating of Aunt Hester. In Life and Times, he states, when the motives of this brutal castigation are considered, language has no power to convey a just sense of its awful criminality. The essence of this brutal beating remains through all 3 accounts. As I have stated before, his language changes. He adds a lot of descriptive words that weren't added before in his first account. And like we stated, this could have been to him faintly remembering the event, or just simply wanting to spruce up the event a lot more and add more of these words to convey feelings to the reader and to the people who he's sharing the story with. I will end with a quote from Life and Times. From my heart, I pitied her, and child as I was, and new to such scenes, the shock was tremendous. I was terrified, hushed, stunned, and bewildered. This was taken from the Life and Times. There was differences in his accounts, such as the one of him being in a closet, such as Anne Hester's name switch, but the essence of the story remains through all three accounts, because although he may have forgotten some things, and the first account may have been more accurate, you can tell that no matter how many times he recounts this event, it's a traumatic event. Think about how you would take an event like this. Thank you for listening, and I hope you have a nice day.